Hello again. This is Jay Barron from Jewel & Studio, Professional Models and Props, and we are today on part 3 of our conversion of the Revell Models USS Yorktown from World War II into the USS Enterprise. Okay, the putty is dry, and I am now trying to take it down to the level of the plastic. I am very, very gently sanding this. Let the grit of your sanding stick, your sandpaper, whatever, let the grit do its work. You don't have to force this. I'm going to be taking this down, and then I have this spot, a couple other spots that I want to do, and this back here. You can probably see I sanded the seam. Get it in the camera here. There's very, very little of that putty that I originally had on there left, and what is there is filling the seam. So what we want to do is take this down, again, very gently. I'm still using the 180 grit sanding stick. What I'll probably do after I'm done with this part, just to check the sanding, is hit it with a little bit of primer paint. Just spray a little bit of primer on there. That'll show me where there are still problems and where I don't have any problems left on here, like that's ever going to happen. So I'm going to continue sanding down these various spots, and I don't want to bore you with watching that, so I'll take care of those and we'll be back. Okay, I hit this with a light coat of light gray primer. No special kind of primer, just the cheap stuff I get from one of the department stores. I think I paid $1 for the can. And you can see in a couple of places here it still needs a little bit of work. Let's see if I can get the camera to see that. Little bit of a sinkhole still right up in here where I was working, and a little bit on that side yet too. See if I can get the camera to pick it up. Little bit of a sinkhole right in here, but it's still it's much better than it was. The center seam is looking really good. Very, very tiny little bit of touch up back here. Most of the other places that I did touch up are looking really good, so I'm going to let this finish drying before I do a little bit more touch up in the front part, and again clean it up a little bit in the back. Okay, this has been cleaned up and sanded. There might be just a little tiny bit of a touch-up I'm going to want to do in here. But I want to get to drilling all these little holes out. A bunch of bilge holes and some portholes that I've got to drill out. Let's see if the camera can pick up on these. Where is it there? All these little holes and all these down here. Now you can use a lot of different things to do this. You could use a pin vise, which is a little device that looks like this, that holds your drill bit, and you can do them by hand, and you might get done sometime in the year 2020. You could use a Dremel. My only problem with using a Dremel is at its slowest, a Dremel goes about 3,000 RPM, and that's often still too fast to get in and not melt the plastic. Very often the drill bit will slip when you're trying to do that. Now, sometimes you can, if you have a good drill, you might be able to fit these really tiny little drill bits into it, but what I did, I went to Harbor Freight and I purchased an electric screwdriver. It goes at 180 RPM. And then I took the mandrel from an old Dremel tool that had burned out on me. This is the mandrel from that. And I mounted it in here and epoxied it. And now I have a 180 RPM Dremel. It'll hold any of the Dremel tools, especially any of the Dremel drills, including the smallest ones. So now what I want to do is carefully place it on the porthole and drill through. Watch your finger on the other side. See, now this drills through nice. Another thing that you can do, which is a good idea, is take a sharp, it's called an awl or a scriber, and just push a little hole, a little dot right in the very center. That helps hold your drill bit still. I don't really need it in these, but I will definitely need it when I start drilling out the really tiny little holes here. So we've got 3 holes here done, only about a couple of hundred to go. So I'm going to keep working on these, and then we'll be back as soon as I'm done drilling this out. Okay, after drilling out over 300 holes, I've got the portholes and the bilge holes on the main body drilled out. There are some on some of the other decks that I can do now. I may wait. I don't think I ever want to drill another hole again as long as I live, but I'll get to those. I'll probably do those tonight before I finish. All these wonderful little holes drilled out, and then I've got to clean all this up with a little bit of sandpaper. And then these little panels on the Yorktown, obviously, this is pretty correct. They're a little bit different. Some of them are a little different on the Enterprise, so I want to cut these out and back them with something that looks better than just this ribbed plastic. But I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I'm going to clean this baby up a little bit, fix the 1 or 2 little parts that were still needing a little fixing down here, and I found another part where another blemish in the plastic that I hadn't noticed before, but I've already taken care of that. So, you know, some people out there may be wondering, why bother to go through all this work? Well, the truth of the matter is, building a model is a lot like a recipe. You can do the recipe exactly as stated and come up with something nice, or you can add your own touches to it and do, you know, from experience, you know what goes where and what'll work and what won't. I have a couple little holes I have to fix here. But you can make something really special. And that's what I like to do when building models. So I'm turning this one into something special. So then, until next time, I will talk to all of you later. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.